Welcome to Marine Tech Talk, a podcast about how Teledyne Marine's innovative technologies are enabling scientific discoveries and commercial tasks in the world's oceans and waterways. In this episode of Marine Tech Talk, we chat with Joe Wolfel, CEO of Terradepth. Terradepth seeks to send their high-tech submersibles farther, longer, and deeper than any human being has gone before. Tune in and hear how they are adding Teledyne Gavia AUVs to their fleet to expand their AUV capabilities. Discover how they plan to collect comprehensive, high-resolution ocean data to obtain crucial knowledge while connecting humanity to the last unexplored frontier on the planet.
Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Teledyne's Marine Tech Talk. And today I'm super excited because I have Joe Wolfel, who is the CEO of Terradepth, which is a really cool company doing some amazing work with some amazing technology. And so welcome to the show, Joe. Nice to have you here.
Thanks, Rhonda. Great to be here.
Awesome. So, Joe, I thought, we could start our chat a little bit today by just having you introduce yourself, who you are, and telling us a little bit about Terradepth.
Sure. So I'm Joe Wolfel. I'm the CEO and co-founder at Terradepth. We've been around since 2018, and we are one of the world's only vertically integrated ocean data as a service companies. And that's a big mouthful, but basically what that means is we do everything from innovating around how to make ocean data collection more scalable and easier to use. We do our own data collection using existing robotic systems. And we've created a cloud platform that makes it really easy to aggregate, visualize, share, and collaborate on ocean data at large, whether we collected it or not.
So you guys, could you explain the vertical part of that a little bit? You guys use really large AUVs at Terradepth. You have your own large AUV systems. Could you talk a little bit about those?
Sure. So one aspect of scaling ocean data collection is really around making robots smarter and making them stay out for a longer amount of time without a human being involved in that data collection operation, or at least as minimally involved as possible, because that human involvement is what drives cost and it drives risk, right? Putting people out on the water, supervising robotic assets that are underwater, and we're waiting for them to come back. So we've done a lot of work. We're still in the R&D phase on it, but it's around really creating onboard data processing on the robot. I know Teledyne's involved in some of that work, but we're also involved in an autonomous energy recharge section in the midship section of the vehicle. And really that's what drives the size that you're talking about, Rhonda, because we've essentially made a diesel genset capable of going to 1,000 meters depth, sitting in a pressure vessel. And so that drives us to about a meter diameter on the vessel and about 30 feet in length. So we're still in R&D phase, but our tech works. So working to integrate it into the host vessel right now.
It's really cool. I know you guys do a lot of different, you do a lot of surveys and have a survey service as well. And I mean, as far as surveys go, you do it basically everything from A to Z, and have, some pretty amazing payload configurations as well that go along with that. Now, you guys started adding some smaller than yours, smaller AUVs to your fleet, and you chose to go with Teledyne's Gavia AUVs. Could you talk about that? What made you add those smaller AUVs to your fleet, and why Teledyne Gavia?
Sure. Yeah. So first, the requirement to start launching smaller AUVs that we didn't build at all really came around just based on the demand for ocean data, right? We don't think the world needs to wait for more and better ocean data so we can make better, faster decisions with respect to what we do and don't do in the ocean. So, there are some choices out there, that you can make as far as acquiring lower logistics autonomous underwater vehicles or large format ones for that matter. But we decided to go low logistics because we saw a real gap in the market on what was being provided, right? So lower cost, lower logistics vehicles to augment surface-based survey capability. And so, once you make that leap and you look at your choices, we went with Teledyne, is a pretty obvious candidate for a couple of reasons. One, life's largely about relationships, and based on my Navy days, we had some good relationships within Teledyne, and so there was some trust there based on a common foundational experience. So that was one piece, but the other piece was really technical in nature, right? So we invested in Gavias. We'll have 4 of them shortly here at Terradepth. And really it came down to depth rating. So the Gavias we have are 1,000 meter rated, and that really allows us to hit what we think is a sweet spot in the 500 to 1,000 meter range, right? That's not being serviced very adequately right now from just a supply-demand reconciliation standpoint. The fact that they're modular too was a big deal for us. We've got optionality on the payloads that we put on the vehicles. We've got a lot of good area for innovation too around the availability of Teledyne Science Base as well, which is a big deal for us. We had a lot of requests from clients to do interesting things with these vehicles, right? So that modularity and that optionality that comes with the Science Bay option is a big deal for us. As well as I keep saying low logistics. It's low logistics from an operational perspective when you're actually operating the vehicles because of their form factor, weight, et cetera. But they're also really low logistics from a transportation standpoint because we can palletize the asset within a few Pelican cases and have a rapid flyaway capability, which is a huge competitive advantage when we're out here doing these surveys and these ocean data collection missions.
So, and you talked a little bit about your Navy days and, having that relationship built with Teledyne. And I know that's really important because support is a lot of, being able to get the assets and then having the support for those assets when you need them, especially when you're out in the field. Because we all know, like you said, especially when you add people to it, you're talking about doing things with autonomy, but it's still, you've got to get the assets out there, you've got to get the project done, and you want as little downtime as possible because downtime costs money. And so, it's interesting because that comes up a lot. Teledyne is great, as far as supporting their systems and getting their assets to where they need to be. And, they really do try to make the customer happy. What do you find, or, what if you found in your relationship in the past with Teledyne that you think made you choose them because of, as far as support in assets being available, was it just that or anything about the equipment itself being reliable? The reliability, I would assume, factors into that as well.
Absolutely. It's a combination of all those things, right? We've been impressed with the reliability. We've been impressed with the data quality coming off the sensors, for sure. And, really there's this trickle down effect, right? in the whole data delivery chain, so if Teledyne wasn't as on the ball as they are, with respect to being responsive and supportive, because, there are issues with these vehicles. There's just no way around it. You're doing hard things in the ocean. You've got, a mix of just factors that, tend to make things complex. And so, if Teledyne wasn't as responsive as they are, we wouldn't be as responsive with our clients, right? And
right.
It's just not a good deal for anybody. I've actually got a very recent use case for this with the vehicles, if you want to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so we had our vehicles standing by. We were doing some testing with them with regards to a new magnetometer that we were testing on the vehicles, and we got a call from a partner of ours. It's ST Hudson and Gahagan and Bryant Associates. These are really high-end marine engineering firms that have formed a recent partnership, and they were doing a pipeline inspection in New York Harbor, essentially checking for free span that another engineering company had apparently said, there is no free span, pipes land on the seabed.
Right.
They didn't think that was the case, so they went out and they were doing a survey to ascertain the facts. And so essentially they were running an ROV, a remote operated vehicle, for about 2 weeks over the pipeline trying to get a definitive data set. And it just wasn't working, through no fault of their own, but it was a mix of currents and just environmental conditions that was making the data collection really difficult. So they called us, and this is a pretty interesting use case. They hadn't tried an AUV in this area, but they called us and said, hey, can you guys help? What do you think? And, again, just kind of based on the low logistics nature of the Gavia, system, we said, hey, no problem. So packed up the vehicle really quick, palletized it, ran it out to the East Coast from Texas. And where they'd been spending 2 weeks with an ROV, we got a definitive data set in 1 hour and 5 minutes, and then rapidly put that into Absolute Ocean, which is our cloud platform for visualization. And we knew, and it turns out that the pipeline was free spanning, actually. So
wow, that's pretty amazing. I mean, they must have been psyched, because honestly, I know because I've been in the field, and when you hit it on the head. I mean, I think it's electronics and water. I mean, putting those two things together is always a challenge. And, so to be able to, get things done and to have the support so that when things go wrong or, issues, something goes down, and to get out there and to be able to, but that's remarkable to be able to do that in just over an hour. That's pretty cool. So it sounds like you will be using you're adding some more Gavia to your fleet. And it sounds like you'll be using these assets, using the Teledyne Gavia on their own for some certain jobs, just like, what you just, the case study you just mentioned, and then also, in conjunction with your systems as well.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the beauty of the system, right? We've got a lot of flexibility in how we use it. Most of the time, at least for what we're seeing in the near term, is this is going to be a team effort, right? So the ST Hudson and the GBA example, I think, is a good one, right? Because they had all the right relationships and the right processes in place to actually get an AUV approved in New York Harbor, which is fairly difficult from what I understand. So generally we're teaming for these surveys because there's a variety of requirements that are required, but yeah, they're absolutely good to go on their own as long as you can meet the spec, right?
Right. So now you have the new ones coming in, and then do you have any some larger jobs or any jobs coming up where you'll be sending out the Gavia along with your systems, or?
Right now we're bidding on the Gavia alone because we're still making our system commercially viable. But yeah, we've got a couple big jobs in the bidding process right now, so hopefully that is the case.
That's great, and it's important to have that support and to be able to get those assets when you need them, for sure.
Oh, completely. We're cutting a bit of a new path with low logistics AUV use in hydrographic survey, right? The bulk of the surveying being done right now is largely surface-based, right? Using large surface ships. And so, augmenting these surveys with these low logistics vehicles really helps cut down on the carbon emissions too, right? Because we're essentially doing the survey faster, right? You're getting big ship data with little ship carbon emissions and fuel.
Right.
So that's turned out to be a really big deal. And it wouldn't be possible without Teledyne's support because we're integrating new sensors on the vehicles to get these things done. The sensors need to work, the data needs to be good. Otherwise, you're not going to get too many bites at the apple, right? If we go out, sensors don't work, we don't get the support we need from Teledyne, that client's probably shot. They're going to go back to the old way of doing business.
So yeah, it's less expensive, it's a smaller carbon footprint, and it's more efficient and faster. So I mean, it sounds like a win-win situation to me.
Yeah, we think so. But, we got to keep banging the drum. So we appreciate podcasts like these.
Yeah, much appreciated. So Joe, I hear you guys over at Terradepth have this inside joke. It's two guys on a Gavia. What does that mean? Could you share with us what that means?
Sure. Well, like I said in the beginning, right? Terradepth's all about just making the best fast decision, right? And enabling other people to do that with respect to the world's ocean. And so, the two guys in a Gavia basically means, hey, you got a data requirement somewhere in the world. We get two guys in a Gavia, fly them out, we can get the data you want, basically process it really rapidly once we've got it, and we put it in Absolute Ocean so you can rapidly QA it, you can QC it, you can make a decision, and you can move on, right? Put the robots back in the water, get more data, or pack those two guys in the Gavia back up and send them home. So that's the long and short of it.
Well, I think that's pretty accurate, and I think that's a good a good place to end this episode of Marine Tech Talk. And it sounds like a good T-shirt too. Maybe Two Guys in a Gavia, or a hat, or so. I don't know. There's something there. We'll have to check that out.
We'll get on it as long as.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Teledyne lets me do it.
Yeah, right. Well, Joe, thanks for being on Marine Tech Talk. It's always great talking to you. Terradepth's doing some really, really amazing work. You guys have such, you're at the cutting edge of, this type of thing. And so it's really cool to see what you guys are doing. It's cool to see you guys using the Gavias in that as well. So thanks. Thanks for being on Marine Tech Talk.
Well, thanks for having me, Rhonda. Always great talking to you. And thanks for everything you're doing. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. Always lovely talking to you.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks for listening to the Marine Tech Talk podcast. For more information on Terradepth, please visit their website at www.terradepth.com. If you have any questions or comments about this episode, you can email marinetechtalk@teledyne.com. If you like this podcast, please be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcast or wherever you are listening to the show. That way, you will never miss an episode. Thank you for listening, and we will see you again next time.